Imagine a stranger messages you. Beautiful, smart, with perfect profile photos. You chat for a week or two. You fall in love. Then she asks for money for a plane ticket to see you. You send her a message, but she doesn't buy it. And when you try to call her, she doesn't answer. A typical story, you say. But what if she messages you again in a month and says, "Sorry, it wasn't me. It was the one who kept me locked up. Help, what will you do?" My name is Mike. I'm 33. I live in a small town in Ohio and work as a systems administrator for a large insurance company. My life was boring and monotonous. Work, home, pizza on Fridays, rare meetings with friends. I hadn't had a woman in my life for a long time. My last relationship ended 3 years ago. It wasn't that I was suffering. I just wanted to get used to being alone. It all started on an ordinary Tuesday evening. I was sitting in my apartment, scrolling through my Facebook feed, drinking tea. A notification for a new message appeared in the corner of my screen. It was from a girl with the beautiful name Emma. I opened her profile. The photos were perfect. She was against the backdrop of the ocean, in the mountains, in a cozy cafe with a cup of coffee. Long blonde hair, a green sweater, a gentle smile. The description said she lived in California, worked as an interior designer, and loved to travel. I replied. We started messaging. At first, general conversations, then more and more intimate. She turned out to be surprisingly intelligent. She was well-versed in all topics, made subtle jokes without being vulgar, and was interested in my work and hobbies. 3 days later, we were chatting for hours every evening. She texted first, always finding time, even when she was busy. I found myself waiting for these messages, smiling when I saw her name on the screen. Within a week, I knew almost everything about her. She talked about her childhood, the loss of her mother, and how hard it was to live alone in a big city. I listened and felt a tenderness welling up inside me. She wasn't just a pretty picture. She was alive, real, and it seemed she was reaching out to me too. One evening, she sent me a photo of herself standing on a balcony overlooking the city at night. "I miss our conversations," she wrote. "It's a shame we're so far away." I replied that I missed you too, and then she asked to meet up. She said she'd been wanting to go to the East Coast for a long time, that she had a couple of weeks free, and she could fly out to see me. My heart sank with joy. I agreed. We started planning. She chose the dates, found the tickets. She sent a screenshot of the reservation confirmation. Everything was perfect. There was just one small detail left. She wrote that there were temporary problems with the card, that the bank had blocked the account for suspicious transactions. Could I lend her some money for a ticket, and she'd pay me back in cash upon arrival? The amount wasn't much, $200. I thought about it and sent it. She immediately replied that she'd transferred the money to the airline account, the ticket was purchased, and that she'd be with me in 3 days. I bought groceries, cleaned the apartment, bought new bedding. I waited. The day of my arrival arrived. I arrived at the airport 2 hours before departure, bought flowers, and was as nervous as a teenager. I watched the arrivals board. The flight from Los Angeles had landed. People were leaving the arrivals area, and she wasn't there. I waited 2 hours. I texted her. It didn't go through. I called. Her phone was switched off. I returned home, thinking something had happened, that she'd now explain everything. That evening, I logged on to Facebook. Her profile was gone, deleted. I was left alone with the flowers and the stupid feeling that I'd been deceived. But that was only the beginning. For a whole month, I felt like I was in a fog. Friends told me, "Forget it, it happens, it's just a scam, you're not the first." I understood this myself, but my heart refused to believe that the Emma I'd been texting at night didn't exist. I reread my saved messages, looked at my downloaded photos, and the more I looked, the more inconsistencies I found. In one photo, she was wearing a pendant shaped like a small key. In another, where she stood against the sunset, the same pendant was missing, but she had a strange tattoo on her wrist that looked like a sequence of numbers. I ignored it at the time, chalking it up to the fickleness of people. Now these details are imprinted in my memory and haunt me. I tried. I immersed myself in work, stopped using social media, even deleted Facebook from my phone. But at night, I still lay staring at the ceiling, replaying our conversations in my head. Emma's voice, her jokes, her laughter. It all seemed so real. Was it really that clever to pretend? Another 2 weeks passed. I had almost recovered and started going to the bar with friends on Fridays. Life was getting better, and then a message arrived. It was a typical Wednesday evening. I was sitting at my computer, finishing a report. A notification for a new email appeared in the corner of the screen. I opened my inbox, thinking it was another newsletter, but the sender's address made me freeze. It was Emma's, the same one she'd written to me from in the first few days before it disappeared. The subject line contained just one word: help. I opened the email with trembling hands. There was a photo, Emma, but not the smiling girl we see in perfect photographs. She was sitting on the dirty floor, leaning her back against the wall. Her face was bruised, her blonde hair tangled, and there was a cut on her cheek. Her eyes were puffy with tears. She looked straight into the camera, and her gaze was so hopeless it made me sick. Under the photo was a caption. "Mike, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm not who I said I was. My name isn't Emma. My name is Sarah, and I'm trapped. The person who's been writing to you all these weeks isn't me. It's him. He's making me sit in front of a camera, taking photos, recording voicemails, and he's the one writing these messages. He's kept me here for 6 months. I don't know where it is. Some village, an old house. I only see this room. Please find me. The police don't believe me. They think I'm a fraud, but I'm not lying. Here's my real photo. Look at the scar by my eyebrow. I fell off my bike when I was a kid. It's in all the photos, they just airbrushed it out. I think only you can do this. Please." I read the letter 5 times. Then I enlarged the photo and took a closer look at the girl's left eyebrow. There really was a thin white scar there, barely noticeable. I thought back to all the photos of her I downloaded. In some, the scar was barely visible. In others, it wasn't there at all. I thought it was a trick of the light, but it turned out to be Photoshop. My heart was pounding in my throat. I didn't know whether to believe it or not. This could be another scam, a new extortion scheme, but that look in the photos, you can't fake that look. Or can you? I replied to the letter with one line: "What should I do?" The reply came within a minute. "Don't write here anymore. He might read this address. I'll give you another one when I can. Look for me as Sarah Connors. I'm from Oklahoma. My parents live there. Tell them you saw me. They think I went missing a year ago. The police closed the case. If you contact them, they'll give you my childhood photos. You'll see the scar. You know I'm not lying. And please don't go to the police. Either they won't believe me or he'll find out. He sees everything. He's watching me through the camera. He's not here now. I stole the phone while he was sleeping. I don't have much time. Sarah." I leaned back in my chair. My hands were shaking. I had a choice. To hell with it, block the address and forget this nightmare, or get involved in a story that would make my hair stand on end. I looked at the photo again, at her exhausted face, at her pleading eyes, and I made my decision. I decided to go to Oklahoma. I took a week off, booked a cheap motel online, and got in the car. An 8-hour drive through fields and small towns. The whole way, I kept replaying Sarah's photo in my head, her eyes, that scar, and I tried to figure out if I was going crazy. Sarah's parents lived in a small house on the outskirts of a town called Broken Arrow. I rang the doorbell. A woman in her 60s opened the door, with tired eyes and gray hair pulled back into a bun. She looked at me suspiciously. I introduced myself and said I was here about their daughter. The woman turned pale but let me in. The house smelled of medicine and dust. In the living room, a man in a wheelchair sat on the couch, covered with a blanket. Her father. I told them everything. About the correspondence, about the disappearance, about the letter with the photo. Sarah's mother, Linda, listened and cried. Her father, Thomas, gripped the arms of his chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Linda brought over an old photo album. She opened to a page of childhood photos. I saw a little girl with pigtails, laughing at the camera. In the next photo, she stood with a skinned knee and smiled. And in the third, when she was about 10 years old, I saw it. The same scar above her left eyebrow. A thin white line that would remain for life. Thomas spoke for the first time. His voice was hoarse, broken. He told me that Sarah had disappeared a year ago. She worked as a nurse, living alone in a neighboring town. One day, she missed her shift and didn't answer her phone. The police arrived at her home. The door was open, her belongings were scattered, and her laptop lay open on the table. A dating site page froze on the screen. The case had been opened, but quickly closed. No evidence, no witnesses. They put her on the wanted list, but the search yielded nothing. They had almost given up hope. I showed them the photo from the letter. Linda covered her face with her hands and burst into tears. Thomas stared at it for a long moment, then nodded. "That's her," he whispered. "Oh my God, that's her, alive." We talked until evening. I told them about the con man, how I'd been deceived, how Sarah had written that she was being held captive and forced to participate. Thomas said he knew someone in the local police, an old friend he trusted. But I remembered Sarah's warning. "Don't go to the police. He sees everything. He'll find out everything." I mentioned it. A heavy silence fell. Linda suddenly stood up and left the room. She returned with a small box. Inside were Sarah's things, which the police had returned to them after the search. Old hairpins, a notebook, a couple of photographs, and a flash drive. Linda said they found it in Sarah's jacket pocket, but the police didn't think anything of it and handed it over with the rest of her belongings. No one looked at it. I asked permission to look. Thomas had an old laptop. I plugged in the flash drive. Contained just one folder of photos. I opened it and froze. These were the very same photos Emma had sent me. The same poses, the same clothes, the same background. But the faces in them were different. Alive. Sarah was smiling, Sarah was posing, Sarah was looking at the camera. And in the corner of some of the pictures, I saw a hand. Someone's hand, holding a rope tied to her belt, or the edge of a wall with dark stains that looked like mold. I looked through everything. In the last photo, taken judging by the date, the day before she disappeared, Sarah was standing in front of a window. Outside, I could see a patch of woods and the corner of a house. The house was old, made of logs with carved door frames. A chill ran down my spine. I'd seen this house before. In another story I couldn't forget. But back then, I decided it was just a coincidence. Thomas asked what to do. I said I'd go. I'd find the house. I took a flash drive with me, copying all the photos. Linda hugged me goodbye and whispered, "Bring her home, son, please." I nodded, even though I wasn't sure I could find it. The address Sarah's letter had come from led to another state, Missouri. A small town in the woods, almost abandoned. I got in the car and drove. I spent the night in a roadside motel, barely sleeping. Fragments of thoughts, photographs, Sarah's face, her mother, her father in a wheelchair. All of it swirled around in my head. And that house, the very same one I'd seen somewhere before. By morning, I was there. The town was called Silverton. A few streets, a couple of stores, a gas station. I asked an old man at the gas station about some abandoned houses in the woods. He looked at me strangely and waved his hand east. There's an old road there about 5 miles from here. It leads to some abandoned farms. Nobody goes there. They say it's haunted. I thanked him and drove on. The road quickly ended, and beyond it stretched a bumpy dirt road, winding through the trees. I got out of the car and set off on foot. The forest greeted me with silence. No birds, no wind. The air was heavy, muggy, like before a thunderstorm. About 20 minutes later, I emerged into a clearing. There stood the house, the very same one, built of logs with carved door frames and a sloping porch. My throat was pounding. I walked closer. The windows were dark. The door was ajar. There was no sound from inside. I pushed the door. The hinges creaked. It smelled of damp, mold, and something sweet and nauseating inside. I turned on the flashlight on my phone and went inside. I walked further, trying not to make a sound. In the corner stood a desk with a laptop, its screen glowing dimly in the dim light. I walked closer. A dating site was open on the screen. Someone's profile. A girl with a perfect smile and long hair. Not Sarah. Someone else. So, more than one message was being processed here. I swiped my finger across the touchpad, and the screen came to life. Open chats. Dozens of messages from different men. Judging by the time of the last messages, someone was chatting with someone else right now. There was a rustling sound behind me. I turned sharply, pointing the flashlight into the darkness. The beam illuminated a doorway leading into the hallway. No one was there, but I distinctly heard breathing. Quiet, muffled, as if someone was covering their mouth. I followed the sound. The hallway led to a staircase to the second floor and the basement. Breathing came from underground. The basement door was ajar, a dim light filtering through the crack. I descended the creaky wooden steps. The air below smelled of damp and sweat. A single, bare light bulb burned, illuminating a small room with concrete walls. A girl was sitting on a mattress in the corner. Sarah. I recognized her immediately, despite her haggard face and tangled hair. She raised her head and looked at me with empty eyes. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Her mouth was sealed with wide tape. Her hands and feet were bound with ropes. I rushed to her, fell to my knees, and began to untie the knots. My fingers refused to obey, the ropes digging into my skin. Sarah looked at me and suddenly blinked rapidly, moaning something through the tape. Her eyes widened in horror. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking behind me. I turned around. A man stood in the doorway, tall, thin, wearing a dirty t-shirt and sweatpants. His face was in shadow, but I saw a glint in his eyes. He held something long, like a crowbar, in his hand. He stepped forward, and the light from the light bulb fell on his face. A young man of about 25, with unhealthily pale skin and dark circles under his eyes. He smiled, revealing crooked teeth. "Hello, Mike," he said calmly. "I've been waiting for you. Sarah told me a lot about you. Or rather, not she, but I on her behalf. I liked you. Very emotional, trusting, and most importantly, noble. You came to save the princess, like in a fairy tale." He laughed, and the sound echoed throughout the basement. "Who are you?" I forced out, feeling a chill run down my spine. "My name is Daniel, but to my friends, I'm just the puppeteer. It was me who wrote to you at night. It was me who made you fall in love with my photographs." Sarah simply sat in front of the camera, and I spoke for her. I made up jokes, listened to your stories of boring jobs and broken hearts. "You know what your problem is, Mike? You were too hungry for love. You were ready to love anyone, even emptiness. And I just gave you a picture." He took a step closer, fiddling with the crowbar. "But you surprised me. Usually, after I get paid, the clients disappear. And then you showed up. At first, I thought it was stupid that you brought the police. But then I understood. You're a true knight. You believed the story about the captive. And you know what? You were right. She really is a captive. Only she can't be freed. Because she hasn't wanted to leave for a long time." He snapped his fingers. Sarah shuddered, her moans growing louder. I looked at her. She shook her head, trying to speak through the film. "The first month, she tried to escape," Daniel continued. "I caught her and tied her to a radiator for 3 days. No food, no water. And then she understood. She's better off here. She's needed here. I can't work without her. And without me, she's nothing. We're a team, right, Sarah?" Sarah closed her eyes. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I rushed toward her, wanting to tear off the film, but Daniel swung the crowbar, and I recoiled. "Don't touch her. She's mine. And you're mine now, too. You didn't think I'd let you go, did you? You've seen her face, the house, the road. You're part of the game now. You'll sit here and watch me work." Sometimes you'll help. And Sarah will be your neighbor. We'll have fun here, trust me. My thoughts were racing. There was only one way out, the door behind him. But he was faster, stronger, and he had a weapon. I glanced at the floor. Next to the mattress lay a shard of glass, sharp as a blade. If I distracted him for even a second, you know what's funny? Daniel's smile widened. You were here before, or rather, your double. Another guy, also in love, came to the rescue. We buried him behind the house. There's a whole cemetery of knights there. Welcome to the company. He swung the crowbar. I lunged to the side, grabbed the shard of glass, and without looking, slashed the air with it. The blade grazed his hand, blood spurting. Daniel howled, dropped the crowbar, and clutched his forearm. I didn't wait. I ran to Sarah and ripped the tape off her. "Run!" I screamed. She looked at me, then at Daniel, who was writhing on the floor, clutching his wound. And suddenly something strange appeared in her eyes. Anger or fear, couldn't tell. She grabbed my hand and whispered, "Wrong way, up through the attic. There's a way to the roof, you can jump into the bushes." "I know." We ran. Up the stairs, through the hallway to the attic stairs. I heard curses and stamping behind me. Daniel came to his senses faster than I thought. Sarah climbed in first and I pushed her. The attic hatch swung open and we tumbled inside. Dust, old crates, dim light. She pointed to a small window at the end. "There!" I smashed the glass with my elbow and helped Sarah climb out onto the sloping roof. About 10 feet below, there were thick bushes. She jumped first and I followed. Branches whipped my face, but I landed relatively softly. I grabbed Sarah's hand and we ran through the forest, not paying attention to where we were going, away from that damned house.
We ran until the forest ended. Branches whipped our faces, roots caught our legs, but fear drove us forward stronger than any drug. Sarah fell several times. I picked her up, and we raced through the darkness again. Daniel's screams behind us faded and then resumed, but each time they grew fainter. He had either fallen behind or he knew another way and cut us off. When the trees parted, we pulled onto a familiar dirt road. My car was parked where I'd left it. I yanked the door open, shoved Sarah inside, and climbed behind the wheel. With trembling hands, I inserted the keys into the ignition. The engine roared, I floored the gas pedal, and the car sped over the bumps, away from this damned place. We were silent the entire drive to the nearest town. Sarah sat, hugging herself, staring into space. I only glanced at her occasionally, afraid she'd pass out or simply vanish like a mirage. The bruises on her face looked horrific in the dim light of the dashboard, but she was alive, real, not an image on a screen. An hour later, we pulled into some town with a 24-hour gas station and a cheap motel. I stopped, checked in, and helped Sarah up. In the room, she sat down on the bed and finally burst into tears, loudly sobbing like a child. I sat next to her and simply held her hand until she cried herself dry. In the morning, we went to the police. I was afraid they wouldn't believe me, but the photos from the flash drive, the rope marks on Sarah's hands, and her testimony convinced me. The police station was bustling. A SWAT team went into the woods, but the house was empty. Daniel was gone, along with laptops, photographs, and traces of dozens of other victims. They found only empty rooms, a pile of trash, and fresh graves behind the house. For people who, like me, had come to rescue the princess and stayed there forever. Sarah was sent to the hospital, then to her parents. I visited her several times. She was recovering, starting to smile, even joke. But sometimes the same emptiness I'd seen in the basement would appear in her eyes. The doctor said it would pass, it just took time. 6 months later, I received a letter from her, a regular letter in the mail. She wrote that she was moving to another state, wanting to start a new life, and thanked me for saving her. In the envelope was a photograph. In it, Sarah was standing against the sunset, smiling, wearing a small key-shaped pendant around her neck, the same one from the first photos. I was overjoyed. thinking everything was getting better. And then I took a closer look at the photograph. Behind Sarah, in the reflection of the glass door, stood a figure, blurred but recognizable. A tall, thin silhouette and a crooked smile. Daniel was found. I called Sarah dozens of times, but her phone was disconnected. I wrote to her, but got no answer. I went to the address she listed in her letter. It was an empty house with a for sale sign. The neighbors said a girl with those features had never lived there. Another year passed. I changed my number, moved, tried to forget. But sometimes, when I log into social media, I get friend requests from empty profiles with photos of beautiful girls. I never accept them, because I know that on the other side of the screen could be anyone, even someone you've already saved, or haven't. Last night, I received a message from an unfamiliar number. Just one word, "Thank you." I didn't sleep all night, and this morning, I saw the photo in my newsfeed. A new victim, a new divorce, a new beautiful girl with empty eyes. And the caption, "Looking for true love."